Mm. Hello, everyone. Welcome
Welcome
into Just
back,
Like
y'all. Welcome back.
Us. How's
I'm your
everybody
host.
doing tonight?
Great. I'm your host, Justin. Justin Bird. This is my co-host, Leti Zito.
Hi.
Welcome in, everybody. So tonight we are going to be discussing building a support system. Okay,
Important.
it's very important for me. I find that my support system has been crucial in the past year,
Mm.
considering that I have recently, been able to get over the addiction phase of my life.
Mm.
And I find that having a support system is extremely important. Um, the past year has been phenomenal,
Mm.
and I couldn't really have done it without God, but also my immediates, the people like Letty, Justin Jr.,
Mm.
our immediate family, Letty's mom, and the family on her side have been extremely supportive with everything that we've been going through. And
Mm.
it's been such a huge honor to have such amazing
Mm.
people around us for things like this in times
Yeah.
of what we've been going through. It's been a
Mm.
great, last year was phenomenal, but
Yeah.
again, having the support has really helped out. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I think, having a good support system, and I think having a good support system within yourself first, right? You have to be able to support yourself, be your best cheerleader, keep track of your own wins, and then you can branch out from there, right? Find
Right.
the right tribe, so
Man.
to speak, the right circle of people that you want to be around that share the same interests that you do, and some that don't, right? I think
Right.
that mix is good because you have contrast, and it just helps keep you on your toes too,
Right. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's how I see it.
So we want to identify who belongs in our circle. I think that's
Mm.
that's another key factor is when you're doing things to better yourself,
Mm.
in my opinion, I find like there are certain people that I had around me that really, for whatever reason, didn't seem to want to see me win. And I say that kind of, in the sense of I was really looking for people to support me when I was, not struggling, but through the phase of just beginning
Mm.
to be sober and clean. And I had people, but I really had to I had to surround myself around a certain kind of person, because the people who I was around and with before, it would it seemed like it would reflect on them how I'm changing. Seemed like the better I was wanting to do, seemed like the further these people got from me, which was a
Mm.
good thing, because I mean, who wants to be around somebody that's pulling them down? But having a support system has been crucial. So the past, like I said, 12 months have been phenomenal. But I just think that I couldn't have done it without God, and then having the help of those around me. So
Yeah.
it's been a great journey, and there's so many more days to come. Hopefully, that
Mm.
we have a blessing of having the right people around us. The vibe is in the tribe, if you ask me. So you know what I mean?
Definitely. No, I agree with you. The vibe is in the tribe. And, you're not, and sometimes you're not always vibing in the tribe because you're not vibing with yourself. And that, shows when you get into a tribe. I think
Mm,
sometimes, that's,
right.
you got to find your own vibe. You got to find your own flow with yourself first, right? So that you can find your vibe in the tribe,
Right.
right? I
Yeah.
think that's what attracts them is knowing that, you have a supportive system within yourself. Like you said, for me, that is God first, and then it branches out. I have you to bounce things off of, and I have quite a few communities that I belong to, right, that I can bounce things off of. And I want to, I can't stress this enough, right? It's being secure in who you are too, because sometimes even being a part of a tribe, there's so many voices in the pot that it can get overwhelming. And at the end of the day, we're responsible for the actions that we take, whether someone gives us suggestions or advice or even tells us what to do. We're ultimately responsible. It's our lives, right? So that's why I say, be the community that you want to be in, you know, start it within yourself. I everything always starts with you.
Yeah, straight up,
So
yeah. And how to like give and receive support
mm,
effectively, I think is a big part of it too. And again, by no means am I trying to teach anybody any of this stuff. I think with experience, I have,
mm,
some pointers that I'm able to add to these topics because, again, the support system has really changed my how I look at things. I mean,
mm,
really, like just think about it. If can you imagine having going through something like
mm,
addiction and there's many things that we could be addicted to, but imagine going at it alone and having no one to bounce things off of and people to encourage
mm,
you. And I mean, it's doable, but you have a lot better chances to be able to succeed when you have
mm,
people that want to see you win, that are like that pick you up when you may feel down, or in my case, people that can kind of like hold me down from being too excited. You know what I mean?
I
Sometimes
love that about
sometimes
you.
I'm a bit over the top, but that's okay. It's better to me to be over the top than under the
But
bottom. You know
under
what I mean? Yeah. So,
over.
but I mean, really, like the support system is everything. The past year, I found myself around a community of people who are go getters, and I
Mm,
say that because we are in school right now, and this particular school is built on I want to say the foundation of entrepreneurship and becoming, our own bosses. And with these people that we've surrounded ourselves around, there are several successful people. By successful, I mean people that have made it in the industry, that are financially stable, that have already been millionaires, and successful in many avenues, many different aspects. But for me personally, having such a positive, surrounding of people, a tribe of
mm,
people that share the same, if not, similar aspects of where they want to be in the next year or two or three in their future.
mm,
It's helped me to stay focused on what I can do, because I attribute so many things to this school and this tribe. I've been awarded several, you know, uh, you know,
mm.
attributions to lift me up, certain
Right.
things that
Yeah.
help me feel better. They're like,
Yeah.
I mean, like the
Yeah.
community itself is amazing. So having the tribe of people that lift me up has helped me, I feel, in so many ways that I probably haven't really sat and given
Mm,
as much, to identify that as being something that's helped me along the way. So what I mean by that is, in this year of sobriety, I haven't, you know, going through the different phases and ups and downs of, like,
mm,
addiction. I think that this has become like my go-to for like that high, so to speak. And I don't mean to make it sound anything less than what it is. It's just
mm,
I haven't substituted anything, but I found a way to get that dopamine high, or
mm.
that feeling
Yeah.
of that fix, in a sense of, like,
Mm.
being surrounded by all these people has really helped me and amplified what I want to do in my future. So it feels great to be around like the right people.
Well, I would say I think that you give so much. You do. You give so much, you know, energy to other people, and for you, that's, you know, that's your, what the lack of a better term, your draw. That's what you know, that's how you interact. You know, it's how you um, interact with the world, right?
Right.
It's you feed off of their energy, they feed off of yours. And I do too. I feed off of people's energy, but I'm kind of the opposite of you. I take it in and, you know, I have to I get kind of antsy in crowds, like overstimulated, or you know, I love people. You know, I just enjoy limited amounts of time sometimes, and sometimes I don't. It just, you know, it depends on kind of where I'm at, and it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle for me these last couple weeks with community. Um, you know, just some things have happened even as a little girl. You know, I loved my community. I loved being outdoors and, you know, going around and talking to different people. And in my community, there were people that, you know, hurt me physically, mentally, and spiritually. And so, you know, as I've shared on here before, you know, being seen and heard was dangerous for me. And so, you know, that's been a constant thing for me. That's why I often, you know, retreat. And so that's something that I'm looking at. I still love community. I still love being out there, but I don't want to have to feel like I'm on all the time, right? When I'm out there and feel like I have to put on a show. I've lived that way before. And I just want to be me. Sometimes I just want to be. And that means, I don't want to feel like I have to hoot and holler and that's what I love about you, because you hoot and holler for all of us. You make it an enjoyable time to be out there and watch how people, respond to you and how you lift people up. I just have a quieter way of doing it. And not always, like, I like to encourage people and uplift them and be a part of something. We all want to be a part of something. And sometimes I have to fight through those feelings of being hurt, whether it's real or perceived. Um, I am one of those. I like to spend time by myself. I enjoy my own company, like, a lot. And I'm okay with that, right? And like I said, I enjoy other people too so much. I'm I can be in a crowd of 2, or I can be in a crowd of 20, you know, and I get what I get out of it, right? And what I put into it as well.
Yeah.
You know, um, how do you find strength? How do you find strength in community? What does that look
Yeah.
like for you?
Good question. So for me, I find that being able to recognize people who truly have my back versus those who drain me.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And actually, I find this within people I've never met before. And
mm,
by having my back, I mean like people that are engaging in what I'm just like today. I must have interacted with probably 100 people, like
well,
at least,
well, yeah,
like legitly. Like I say hi to
yeah,
everybody. Like almost nobody gets by me without saying hi. You know what I mean?
mm,
And that's just kind of how I am.
yeah,
And Letty's taught me something is not everybody, wants to hear hi, and everybody, which is true. But I think I have found a way of picking, my battles, so to
mm,
speak. I don't want to feel down. Like if I said hi to
yeah,
something, they just flip me off, I would feel kind of down. You know what I mean? So I found a way to kind of, I don't know how to say it. I mean, I think I do pretty good with saying hi to most
I
people
would
because I get
agree.
a good response 90% of the time. Good
Yeah,
response meaning that most people wait back, most people say hi. I do get the occasional people that are just like, they don't want to talk, which is totally understandable.
okay,
That's I'm not everybody's
right.
cup of tea, but I am kind of over the top with being
Mm,
energetic and outgoing. But I enjoy who I am in that sense that not everybody's like that, which is cool to me because I'm not
mm,
like everybody else. And just today alone, I had 3 different people tell me that but just the energy I get from people. There's 3 times today where okay, so I was sitting in my van and I was actually on a meeting and she was an older lady. She had white hair.
mm.
She must have been in her 70s and I waved at her as I'm sitting in my van and she stopped what she was doing and she like looked like, do I know you? And she came back around. I rolled my window down.
Yeah.
I'm on a meeting and I was like, how you doing? And I shook her hand and she like held my
Oh,
hand and like
yeah.
we talked for like a solid 7 minutes. And she just kind of like looking like, do I know you? And I'm like, no, I want to say hi,
Mm,
let you know I love you. And so we talked for a minute. And her name was Penny. You know what I mean?
Penny.
And it was very interesting to see how certain people react to
Mm,
just a stranger telling them hello. Some people really engage with that and like that a lot, and some
yeah.
people don't. But when I get those okay. I also had another person wave at me before I waved at them today. I was driving. I
No,
was driving
that's
home
so
before
cool.
I got home
Yeah.
today from work, and
I love
and
that.
I think I did a peace sign to somebody else, and I looked, and there was a car, and it was a mom and probably her daughter. The
Yeah.
daughter must have been 15 or 16,
Yeah.
but she like waved at me like,
Yeah.
and it was like those things light me up. It's just
Yeah.
because I'm usually the
It, do-
first one
it
to do
it
it. You
feels
know what I
good.
mean?
It feels good, I think, to be seen and heard. Even today, this morning, I just went down, by the river, before I went and got my hair done. Thanks, Trish.
Looks good.
Um, and I had my headphones on, and that's just how I like to, start my days. And there were people there out at the park, and some were like, "Yeah," and some were like waving, and some were like, "What is she doing?" Because I gets down, and
In a good way or bad
in
way?
a good way,
You
in
gets
a
down.
good
She
way,
gets
gets
down.
down like
She gets down.
dancing.
I get
I
down
mean,
and
I
out.
get I
And I'm
get
like,
down
dang,
too,
I
like
get
that too, but then
down.
I get right back up. Um, and so just engaging with the world around you, not being afraid to, no matter how many times you've been hurt, like we're human, we're fallible, we're going to let each other down, even in our communities, expectation, I think is something that, if you expect too much or you expect too little, just expectations in general, can kill the vibe in a tribe,
Right.
right? It's just coming in and giving what you give and receiving what you receive and leaving what isn't for you, helps make the tribe work because there's so many different personalities. There's so many different ways to do things. And that's what I love about community, right? Is coming in and listening to the different perspectives because, I choose to get something out of every community that, I'm in, whether it's I'm here in my own community where I live, going to the grocery store, going to the park and just interacting with people. I love that sense of, you know, sharing my heart with somebody else, even if it's just a wave or a hi, like you say,
Right.
it's knowing, and today there was a lady walking in the crosswalk and I was like jamming out in my car and she's like walking across the crosswalk and I was like, love you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing this, but anyways,
that's what's up.
because it's here.
Let's go.
And I do. I love community. I love, the people that I'm around and not all the time. And I think that when I don't love it all the time, that maybe there's something in myself, that keeps me reserved or,
Maybe just human. Maybe
and
it's
that
not
too.
for to always be positive,
Right.
positive. You know what I mean? Like maybe because there's no positive without negative. You're not gonna have. I prefer to have an enjoyable day by smiling, laughing,
It feels
getting
better.
interactions from people.
It
But
does.
don't get me wrong, there are them days where I'm just I can't really remember last time when I had one, but there are days where I just kind of well, it wasn't too long ago when I was feeling a bit of what they might be considered depression, but I don't want to say that word depression. But another thing about community is I'm gonna tell you guys a story. So some of my closest friends are they live down the street, Arthur and Sheena, and this is my daughter's parents. So Brea's stepdad is essentially her dad. I'm her father, and so the story that we have, our background is a really cool one because Steve and I, his name's Arthur, but we've known each other our whole lives. And, Sheena and I, we ended up splitting up and they ended up, having some chemistry and they're together. They've been together about 20 years. And I find it to be super awesome that we are so close now more than ever. And some people have asked me in the past, well, how does it work when he's with your daughter's mom? And to me, it's an easy answer. Like, that's not my business. Like that is really not. It's not my issue. Like he's still one of my closest friends I've ever had. We're still super tight, and me and Sheena are extremely tight too. And it hasn't done anything but strengthen our bond. To explain it in simpler terms is we're family, and there's nothing that's going to get in between us, no matter what. Like there's no, the fact that they are in love and with each other, like is such a blessing. You know what I mean? And some people go their whole lives and never find what these two have, and I'm blessed to have my daughter be around someone so amazing such as him and Sheena. They're great parents. So and when I was in my addiction, I was void. I was not in you know what I mean, like I was not in the best pair of shoes I know to be in, but there was one of my closest friends there being a good dad to my daughter, and it's not a hard subject. It's not something that is difficult to talk about. It is what it is. I was lucky enough to have somebody like him and Sheena to be able to raise, Brea. And it's a beautiful thing. So, that's my tribe. This is like legitly like my immediates, again, with Justin, when he was first, brought into this world, they helped with getting him, they went and got their what's it called?
Oh gosh.
Their
foster
care license, so that, which they had already worked on prior because they wanted to kind of do this anyways. But the point was they actually went and got it to help, get Justin to get him from one place to another. To transition him from the CPS where he originally went into the system after he was born. And and they helped transition him from, the system to their house, and,
Yeah.
and able to so that we could see him every day, because it was like I was seeing him like twice a week, and then it was like, on the weekends, and so it was rough. But they are such beautiful people that they went ahead and they went and got their license to help us out and to help them out as well, because this is family. I mean, it's Justin is Brea's brother, and this is his immediate family. So it just made sense, and to have somebody go and do something like that, it's such a big, huge, monumental thing for me, because it just shows that there's no limits. When you have family and a community and a tribe such as this, we're not gonna let anything break us. We're not gonna let anything get in between our bond, because our bond is like forever. And I mean that because I give this dude a hug like no other. I mean, I give dude on a kiss on his forehead kind of thing. Like I do. These people, we're so tight that people actually think that we're physically blood brothers.
Yeah.
We sound alike. We there's so many things that we have alike, but this is the power of community, the power of finding the right who's to be in your life, and to building a support system. I mean, these people I can literally legitly count on.
Yeah.
If I call and ask, it's 90% a yes. And I'm not saying that that's just one of the things that I can attribute to having this bond, that I ask if I need something, and I know that I can count on people, and that's just, it's amazing to have.
Yeah.
And again, I've known him going on 40 years.
Yeah,
40 years. I know I don't even look 40, right? But
that's
40 years I've known this guy, and he is legitly probably my closest friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If not the top 3 legit, people who I find that I can trust with me in my life. But it's just one of the things that I'm glad to have people like this around me still to this day.
Yeah.
We grew up, we've been super tight our whole lives, and to have them still in my life, it's amazing. It's it's a really, really nice story to have. Yeah, it really is.
I would say, and I would agree with that. For me, it's been my mom. No matter, even if everyone else left me and everybody, wanted to count me out or wasn't talking to me, or I isolated myself from them, man, my mom, I love you, Mom.
Yes.
Has always been my biggest fan.
Yeah, I agree.
No matter what, she really has. She's been with me through some dark times, and even a shout out to my ex-husband.
Yeah,
we still remained cordial. We have kids.
Yeah, and he's a really good guy.
And
he's super nice.
He has been there for me in some really dark
really
times.
amazing,
even before I got together with you and went through, a breakup and was out in my addiction.
Hype on me.
Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Happens, like something shiny, but. When I was in my addiction and my daughter or my sons would, call their dad, he would come here and be like, what are you doing? Straighten up, like what's going on? I could count on, him being a friend too. And so I just appreciate that. I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of. And so having community that doesn't shame you or make you feel bad or, make you feel, like you don't belong. It's you that makes you feel like you don't belong.
Right. Yeah.
And then that gets projected on the outside, and what you have on the inside shows on the outside. And
right. Yeah.
That's why engaging with community is it's important.
Yeah.
I realize that I see that, and sometimes I just have to go through my own process. I realize how important it is, to be around people who love you, who want to see you win, who, will call you on your BS, and you have to be open. You don't have to do anything, but I say it's best to, be open to, what others' eyes or ears might have to say, because it might bring you what you need. Right.
Yes,
to
absolutely.
Move forward in your life, and you can take it or leave it. That's the beauty of community.
And speaking of which, so FundMe is with us, and this is the first time that we've been able to interact with you guys. So FundMe says, hey Justin, you need to bring me on board. You both are doing a great job, and we thank you for that. And also, I am facing the same issues. We all need somebody to lean on. Yes, absolutely. This is it is really amazing to have people around you that want to see you do good and can uplift you, because I find that to be, that's one of my superpowers, if not probably like my most potent superpower, is being able to lift people up. And I do it almost naturally now. I mean, again, I wasn't born jumping out of a cake. Yay!
No.
I wasn't. You would think. I mean, if you know me, you would think so. Because anybody who knows me, like legit, even when I was in kid prison in Spring Mountain, I was given the eye of the eagle on our football team, which meant like the center of the team. Like I hyped everybody up. I've been doing this since I was a kid, and anybody who knows me can attest that I've been the hype man for myself, for anybody else. Anything we do, like I'm that dude that hypes it up, and I'll get it cracking. You know what I'm saying? I'm for real, like the hype man of hype man. So I would love to have somebody like me around. You mean, or I'd want to fight me, one or the other. I would love to have somebody like me around, for reals. And there is actually someone who has matching energy. Can you imagine who it would be? Sister Renee. She has like matching energy. She really does. She's somebody that's like, you know what I mean? She's over the top excited, but in a good way. She's like overly, and that's how I see myself, is like, I'm somebody who's like probably over the top at times, but some people really get down with this. Some people really enjoy that I'm so energetic. You know what I mean? And so it feels really good to be around the right people. And it's really focusing on who wants to support you and who sees you doing well and can embrace that and lift you up.
And I don't always think, you know, people, just because they don't match your energy doesn't mean that they don't support you. You know, like when those two are talking on the phone,
me and Renee,
I love you, Renee. I love you, Justin. But I'm like, wow, exit.
Sometimes again, I
get overstimulated.
She's the closest person I've ever met in my whole life that is like close. I would agree. Energy. Like we're hyped.
I would agree.
She is.
Yeah,
she is. Dr. Renee is fantastic and amazing. And so,
you know,
I mean, like we could talk all day. I mean, we can. But it's cool because, you know, again, I've never really met anybody with that kind of energy, and like it's kind of natural.
Not too many.
You know, I really haven't. Like there's a lot of. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like I'm some special, but for me, like
that matches yours.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And she just kind of like she. But it's interesting because I think that's one of my, like I said, my greatest attributes to myself is being able to be excited about everything. You know what I mean? I'm excited about everything. Letty's seen my other half. I'm not always.
Can you guys tell?
Yeah.
Super excited to be here right now.
Right.
So excited. Like I can hardly contain it. Just kidding. I am.
Right.
I'm really excited.
And it feels good to have somebody to lean on, because Letty's seen me at my absolute worst and she's seen me at my absolute best and everything in between. So to have somebody to lean on is super important for me, because it feels good to have someone that loves you in your darkest moments and your lightest moments and everything in between. It just feels good to have somebody support you. Like, you're an a-hole sometimes, but I love you.
Right.
So, you know what I mean?
And equal.
And it's just, you know, having that support system of somebody that's going to back you regardless. And one thing about Letty is, even if I'm maybe in the wrong, even if I'm not like right, like even if I'm breaking the law, so to speak, Letty would have my back. And I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying like, well, there's been times where we wouldn't riding dirty, you know what I mean? And but you know what I mean, she has my back, and it's good to have people like that around, because if we just happen to she's gonna help me bury the
body.
No, but really, that's a support system, right? It's having somebody care for you even when you're at your worst. You know what I mean? We'll pick each other up, we'll dust each other off, and we'll keep on moving. You know what I mean? And it tends to work. Like there's days where, you know, she'll be off and I'm on, and there's days where I'm off and she's on, and so it feels good to have that, especially immediate support system. And I think the one thing that grounds me more than anything, well, other than God, is my children. You know what I mean? Because you know, having someone like little Justin around to like remind me of how great life is. I don't really have too many days where I'm like, you know, life sucks. but I could, because I feel like if I could be 1,000,000 years old when I die, I would love that. If I had one wish in the world, if you guys had one wish, think about it. If you had one wish in the world, how about you? Fun me. If you had one wish in the world, what would it be? Okay. Mine would be, I would wish to live as long as I wanted. I would wish to live until I didn't want to live anymore. That'd be my one wish in the world, to be able to, you know, and then I would want to be around people who I vibe with, that support me. And I mean, I can support as well, you know, because it's not always about me, but let's face it, a lot of you are just like us.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Just
we're
like
a lot
us.
alike. You know, there's not very much difference between you and me. We don't care about no skin pigment, or we don't care about genital. We don't care about We don't care about religion. We're saying like we are so much alike that most of you are just like us. I mean,
Right.
in so many ways. Just because I'm wearing a suit doesn't make me any better, any worse than you.
No.
It doesn't make me any different. You know what I mean? I'm here. I bleed red. I cry. I have
Yeah.
emotions. I use a bathroom. I have all
Mhm.
these things about me that are no different than anyone
Yeah,
else's.
we just like to look nice
I like to feel nice
sometimes.
too. You know, I do.
Absolutely.
And I
Who
think by
doesn't?
looking
Yeah.
nice helps, you know, helps to make me feel, or helps me to feel better
Yeah.
about things. And I think that just comes from, again, from me not having the ability to dress and feel nice at a young age, especially
Mm.
at the age where I was finding who I was. And that was the age of, I want to say, 12 years old when
Mm.
when I had the incident where I jumped out into the snow and wore the same thing 3 days in a row, and I didn't have any control over that. And I
Mm.
had the girlfriend at the time I was, dating, so to speak, looked at me just kind of weird, and I just felt uncomfortable. And after that day, I
Mm.
told myself I'm not going to ever let anything make me feel less if
Mm.
I can help it. And so I went out and I started robbing. I went out and started doing some negative things
Mm.
on what, but there's nothing like feeling like unsuperior. You know what I mean?
Mm.
With your peers around and just feeling like you're less. So I told myself after that, at all costs, I'm going to do what I need to do to make me
Yeah.
feel. And then that's probably an ultimate sin. You know, it is like God's
Mm.
like, man, you don't need all that stuff. You don't need to. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a vain person, but I wouldn't say I'm not either. And I know
Mm.
that's sin, but I mean, I'm not perfect.
Mm.
I'm human. I'm working on things right now too. I'm working on a lot of things for myself,
Yeah.
for my better half, for Letty, for Justin. And so I've got a lot.
Mm.
I got a lot to work on, but it's in the process. If you're working on, say working on it, and I am. I am
Exactly.
absolutely working on me as a person, and there's
You really
lots
are.
to
Yeah.
come. I've come a long
Oh,
way. And
yeah.
again, if I sound like I'm bragging, it's because I need to feel this. I want to feel this. I find there's a greatness in the positivity that I bring, and I
Yeah.
have to have it come from within first. I
Mhm.
have to know that I'm amazing, and I'm great, and I'm all these positive things. Because again, how are you guys going to know if I don't know this? And I
Mm.
know it seems cliche, but that's
It's
legitimately
the
how
truth.
I
It
feel. It
absolutely.
really is. You
Yeah,
know.
I would agree with that. I think, you have to give yourself the flowers too, right? And not always wait on other people to validate you or tell you you're great. Those are nice to hear, but you're not always going to hear that. You're just you're not. Not everybody has the capacity to give that to you. And so I think that's where the relationship with yourself, the community you build with yourself inside, and for me with God, allows me to see myself in the light that I do. Not that I'm better than anyone else, but I'm pretty dope.
Yeah.
I'm
Pretty
very
dope.
dope.
You're pretty
And
dope.
I love who I am and I love spending time, with myself. I'm not afraid to be by myself. Right. I love to be around other people, but I also like to be around me. And I think, with community, it's people just want to know that they're seen and they're heard. And I like to make it a point. I'm consistent. I'm not perfect, but I'm consistent, complimenting people genuinely. Right. It has to be something that I like, or I'm not going to just say it. But it's just recognizing, each other, recognizing each other's spirits and each other's hearts, and looking at people in the eyes and acknowledging them. I think is so huge.
Right.
It took me a lot of work personally to be able to, like, I would walk around like this, like, don't look at anybody, because it was dangerous for me before. But I said, I'm not doing that anymore.
What made you want to change? What point was it in your life that you
Oh
decided I'm
gosh,
going to
this
change
was
from
a
where I was?
long time. Like, it was a long time ago. It was about when I was 19 and I started going to counseling, right? For some things that happened to me that caused me to look down like this. I didn't want to be seen or heard because it was dangerous. People took advantage of that. And working through that stuff, I started to practice like holding eye contact with people or looking at people in the eye, like letting them know I belong. I deserve to be here. Right. And I am an adult now, so I don't have to let anything hurt me. Right. I have control over who and what I let into my life. And that's kind of what started me on that road. I just had this thought, like, start looking people in the eye. It was really that simple. And, so I started doing it. And it was uncomfortable at first. I couldn't hold a gaze for very long. But as I practiced it, I got better, and just the inner dialogue that I was having with myself. I'm able to look at people in the eye, go up and shake their hand and not feel intimidated or afraid. And even if I do, still doing it, right? Still doing it because I know at the core, I deserve to be here. And so do you. Your voice matters, your story matters, and we love you.
Yes.
And we're so glad to have you with
Yes,
us.
absolutely. Funny. Thank you for joining us. And
Yes,
anybody else who
Funny.
sees the replays of this, we
Yes,
encourage you to chime in, say something.
please.
Let us
Yes.
let us be able to see and hear you so that we can respond to, because this is
Mhm.
growing. We feel like with our voices, it's just going to grow, and we hope it's exponential, that we are able to reach more people, and that
Yeah.
we're able to build a community, so to speak. We love you guys. We love having you guys.
Yes.
We love being a part of your guys' lives and allowing us to be, because I mean, simply put, allowing us to be on your guys's, whatever it is that we're broadcasting to,
Right.
and allowing us to be in your home, So,
Yes.
and we thank you. So, because we know, like, many of you are just like us. And yes, again, thank you guys. I'm Justin, and this is Letty.
I'm Letty.
And thank you guys for being a part of this.
Thank you
Until
so
next
much.
time,
Yes.
see you guys.
Peace.
Peace.